Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Monsters OT here on the Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Alongside my co-host Brad Thiessen, I'm Tony Brown. We've got a big show for you coming up. We are going to drop the mic for the first time this year with Monsters video coach Mike Monty, and then an all-new segment. We're excited for this with Monsters social media manager Nick Blazer. He'll tell us who's hot across the AHL. That plus our Monsters alumni segment presented by True North Convenience Stores. But as always, we begin the show with headlines. All right, Brad, headlines begin this week with big news. It's three players that will be representing Cleveland at the AHL All-Star Classic in Palm Desert, California. Nice little trip to Palm Springs for these three guys, but well-deserving. Luka Delbel-Belouz, Denton Mateychuk, and Trey Fix-Wolanski are all headed to the All-Star game. It's the second All-Star appearance for Fixie, first for the other two guys, but three players that just would not be denied this honor given their production this season.
Yeah, it's awesome to see them rewarded for the work that they put in. You know, a couple young guys like Denton and Luka raising their level of game, and Trey just continuing on what he's been doing for the past few years. So awesome for them to get that honor.
Oh yeah, for Luka Delbel-Belouz, of course, he's leading the league in points with 37 of those in 34 games this year. Top 5 in goals, and of course, Denton Mateychuk, before his recall to the Blue Jackets, just doing everything a defenseman could possibly do at this level, up there among D-men and rookies in all the major offensive categories. And of course, the franchise. Trey Fix-Wolanski, remarkably consistent, Brad, in his time with the Monsters. He's now, simply put, one of the biggest offensive forces in the league. A two-time All-Star, a two-time postseason second-team All-Star, and there's a whole lot of things he's achieved in his time here in Cleveland.
Yes, he has. He is the one that makes this team go, and just awesome to see him be able to get this honor again. It's going to be a really awesome opportunity for them to go to this event and kind of the hockey a little bit lighter side of things and do some skills competitions and things like that, hang out with other guys from around the league. So really cool opportunity.
Yeah, and the AHL does a great job with these AHL All-Star Classic events. Like you mentioned, the skills competition, all of the banquets and recognition moments there for the players that are represented and other folks representing the great history of the AHL. So early February out in Palm Desert, the Monsters will have a really strong contingent of All-Stars. Let's keep things going now and talk about a guy who's not an all-star this year, but he is your AHL Player of the Week, and that's Jet Greaves. What a week he put together, Brad. 4 appearances, went 3-0-1 for the period ending on the 5th of January, a sub-1 goals against average, a save percentage around 97%. And what I love here, he got that rare shutout where you don't win the game, but a great performance was his only blemish, that 1-0 shootout loss to Grand Rapids on January the 2nd. But he's really getting into form here and sort of peaking in the way he's approaching the game right now.
Yeah, and he was only 1 minute away from back-to-back shutouts as part of that streak in this week. So fun to watch right now. I mean, he had a game right after Christmas where he wasn't really happy with himself, and just a little chance to reset, refocus himself, and you see Jet just calm and cool in the net, and he's been a rock back there for this team this week.
Yeah, 4 recent appearances in the NHL for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And Brad, just in your opinion, do you see those sort of bringing him to a new level, getting that chance up top, succeeding? He's carried it down to the American League.
Yeah, he had real success up in the NHL and showed that he can play at that level, getting that opportunity, and now coming back, carrying that confidence on and showing that he can be one of the dominant goalies in this league, and that at any given opportunity he's going to be ready to go back.
All right, well, that's Jet Greaves, your Howie's Hockey Tape AHL Player of the Week. Let's move on and talk about a matchup for Cleveland that has been otherworldly the last few seasons. I really can't believe this. Every time I've seen it, it blows my mind. The Monsters now, after a couple of wins against Toronto to cap off that award-winning week for Jet Greaves, now 16-1-0 in the under the guidance of their head coach Trent Vogelhuber since he's assumed that mantle. Monsters 8-0 in Toronto, 8-1 at home against the Marlies. To what do you owe this? Because Toronto's always got a really competitive group and a skilled team, but Cleveland's been dominant these last few years.
You're right. They do always have a great roster, and it's one of those things where you play against the Marlies, like, oh, usually we've played pretty well, and then you don't realize it until you look at the stats at how well the Monsters have done against them. But there's just one of those things sometimes in hockey and sports where you go up against a team and it's your matchup, and it's the one that you feel good no matter what going in, you have a good chance to win, and for whatever reason, the Monsters have the Marlies number.
Last win for the Marlies against Cleveland all the way back November the 25th of 2022. So it's really been an impressive run. It's been sustained over multiple seasons. So the Monsters would love it if they saw the Marlies every game throughout the season, as Cleveland right now just ahead of them in the North Division standings. Let's keep things rolling on headlines now and talk about a really cool acknowledgement for one of the Monsters veterans, Madison Bowie. He was recently included on the Team Canada roster for the Spengler Cup. Now, Brad, this is a prestigious and historic tournament that takes place in Davos, Switzerland. Features a lot of European club teams, but also Team Canada is always there. And it's a great chance for AHL veteran players to wear their nation's colors. So for Madison Bowie, I'm sure this was super cool.
Yeah, in the past it seems like it's been more European players, Canadians who are playing in Europe who make up this team, but more and more some American League guys are getting that opportunity. Think about Zach Delpy a couple of years ago for the Monsters was able to go as well, but Madison Bowie obviously really excited to get that honor and go over there, play for your own country, be in a country like Switzerland and see another part of the world, a great opportunity for him.
For sure, and just noting, Justin Scott, another Monsters name from years past. He was a part of the Straubing Tigers team that was in the championship game. They were the runner-up this year. So it's really great to see a tournament like that that connects so many of these players that one time or another found themselves in the American Hockey League. Let's keep it rolling on headlines now and look at the North Division standings. They remain super tight. Atop the North Division as of right now, the Rochester Americans with 45 points, a 1-point cushion on Cleveland. Laval in third place, just 2 points back. And then, of course, Toronto, Syracuse, and Belleville all in that group contending for the 4th and 5th seeds. And with the divisional playoff format, which we'll talk about in a little while here to refresh your memory, it's really going to be 5 teams that make the playoffs. So one of these quality opponents, Brad, is going to be left out of the North Division playoffs.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's kind of taking their turn with their hot play. Right now it seems like Rochester and Syracuse are the teams that are playing really well at this point of the year, but no matter what, anybody in this North Division has been a tough team to play against.
Yeah, and it was a really big weekend up in Toronto for Cleveland recently, not just because they won, but they won 2 games against a division foe in regulation. Now, why is that important? Well, let's talk about it now as we cap off headlines with some of the tie-breaking information here. So when you look at the standings and you wonder, if teams are tied in the point column, why is one ahead of the other? Well, here's why. The first tiebreaker, regulation wins, so that's why those 2 victories against the Marlies really meaningful, because Cleveland's got some catching up to do in that category.
Yeah, beating teams in regulation is always real key as it comes down to the end of the year, and any chance you have to keep it out overtime, you want to put the nail in the coffin.
So in order, the tiebreakers are, in case you're wondering, you've got regulation wins, then regulation and overtime wins, so in other words, just eliminating those shootout victories, then total wins, then points head-to-head in the season series, goal differential, and on down the list. But you'd be amazed why they need 7 layers of tiebreakers, because oftentimes you see, seeding in the playoffs come down to columns like this.
Well, and as you see right now in that North Division, it looks like it could be that way this year as well.
Well, that is what's coming up at the end of the regular season, but we've got a lot of ground to cover between now and then, and that includes on this episode of Monsters OT. After a quick break, he's back, everybody. Mike Monty will be here. Monsters video coach will drop the mic after this on Monsters OT, only on Rock Entertainment Sports Network.
Welcome back to Monsters OT. I'm Brad Thiessen. Pleased to be joined for the first time this year with Monsters video coach Mike Monty for our Drop in the Mic segment. Mont, what do we got today? We're talking about some scoring fundamentals.
We're talking about scoring fundamentals. And Brad, the game doesn't change. Whether you're a Pee-wee or a pro, there are certain fundamentals that you have to have in your game plan to be successful. So today we're going to talk about scoring fundamentals. We've got a quick diagram we're going to show here. Roll it, please. Just to depict the goal scoring for the Monsters in the 24-25 season. Now, as you look at this, you look at the colors, you can see that red depicts where most of the goals are scored from, the highest concentration coming from around the net. Simply put, you want to score goals, you got to get to the net. And as we look here, 103 goals scored this season, 50 of those are around the net. And typically this area, as coaches, we call it the scoring area. And Brad, from a goalie's perspective, from a coach's perspective, tell us a little bit about why that scoring area is so important.
Yeah, well, goalies these days are too good. You're not going to score goals from the outside. A lot of times the goals are scored on odd man rushes, making the goalies move from side to side, or in front of the net. Rebounds, tips, deflections, those types of things.
Absolutely. So getting right into it, we'll roll into the first clip. And I love this clip right here. Hunter McCowan, number 41, does a great job of being intentional with his net front presence. So as this clip rolls on, roll it here, you're going to see that he is very, very deliberate in his net front presence, getting there, creating a screen. And not only is he creating a screen, Brad, but the Toronto defenseman is also creating a little bit of a screen, making it that much harder for the goalie. As this clip rolls out, you're going to see that our defenseman delivers the puck. We do a great job of shifting across. And again, that goalie has to guess where that shot's going because his field of vision is just completely blocked.
Yeah, it's a great job by Hunter getting in his eyes, taking his eyes away. Now the goalie's got to search around and see where that puck is.
Next clip, please. This is another clip I love as well because it depicts the transition from defense to offense. Now you can see here the 5 white jerseys. The Monsters are doing a great job of coming back into defensive posture. Justin Pearson does a great job here going stick on puck with the Utica player. And what happens is we create a turnover and transition. And I want everybody to watch right in front of the net there, 45. Gavin Brindley does an extremely good job of getting up ice and making this a favorable scoring chance for. As you see, we roll it here. All right, so the puck comes to Dylan Gambrell. Now, at this point in the play, you can see that this is a one-on-one with Dylan Gambrell not really having a lot to work with. This is a pretty low percentage scoring opportunity just based on the numbers. But Gavin Brindley does a great job of sprinting up ice, getting to the blue paint, getting to that net front area, and as we roll this clip, makes this low percentage play go from a high percentage play just by his willingness to go to the net.
Yeah, and you can see the goalie there. He's focused on Dylan Gambrell, but in the back of his mind, he sees Brindley coming to that net, and now he's got to be aware of what's going on.
Roll it, and our final clip here. And this is from our most recent game against Milwaukee. Now, a couple of things happen here that make this clip so special. So Cole Clayton, number 34, the man we refer to as Cowboy, does a great job of pinching down the wall, keeping this play alive. Justin Pearson comes across to support. That makes Cowboy very comfortable knowing that he can jump into this play and keep it alive with good defensive posture. As we roll it, the puck comes up to the wall. Justin Pearson creates that turnover, and Luca Del Bel Blues, number 10, comes in here to pick up a puck. Roll it, please. So, as this play develops, now Luca has to survey and see where the next play is. You can see that Milwaukee's doing a pretty good job of covering the zone. Each man is kind of locked into a guy with the exception of Justin Pearson. Now, what's so special about this is that Luca Del Bel Blues recognizes this, so does Justin Pearson. Justin Pearson's just going to go stand at the net front. This is a great clip that really makes that old saying, good things happen when you go to the net, feel so important. And all that's going to happen is Luca's just going to throw a puck to the net. Justin Pearson's going to get to that area. Roll it, please. And we get a little deflection like Brad talked about early in our presentation and makes it very difficult for the goalie to track that puck. And ultimately a big goal in the game winner in Milwaukee for us. Yeah,
nice job there by Pierce, obviously getting a stick on and changing the direction of that puck. Now the goalie's got to handle what's going on different than the initial shot that came from him. So, Monts, appreciate the education here. The Monsters are one of the top scoring teams in the league this season, and these are some great examples as well. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back with more Monsters OT right after this.
Welcome back to Monsters OT on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Tony Brown back with you. Coming up, it's our Monsters alumni segment presented by True North Convenience Stores. But right now, we're excited about this. An all-new segment on the show. Let's send it over to Monsters social media manager Nick Blazer. He'll tell us who's hot in the AHL.
All right, thanks, Tony, and thank you to everyone for joining me for the first edition of Who's Hot Around the American Hockey League. I'm Nick Blazer. We're going to start things out with the Atlantic Division. The Charlotte Checkers in their last 10, a record of 8-2 and currently on a 3-game win streak, which started back on December 29th. They currently sit in second place in that Atlantic Division and 5th place in the Eastern Conference with an impressive record of 19-8-1-2, good for 41 points. This win streak started with a 1-0 victory over the Hershey Bears back on December 29th. They also beat Lehigh Valley and Wilkes-Barre throughout that stretch, and they have this week off before they host that same Hershey Bears team here on January 10th and 11th. Diving into their player to watch here, John Leonard, the forward, 7 points in the last 3 games, 3 goals and 4 assists under his belt with a game-winning goal back on January 3rd against Wilkes-Barre in that 3-2 victory. Good for 8th place in the AHL in points, 15 goals, 16 assists for 31 total. And the Monsters split their series with the Charlotte Checkers early on this year, just back in week 2 with a 5-2 loss and a 4-2 victory on the road. That same Checkers squad will be coming here to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse coming up on February 28th and March 1st. Sliding along to the North Division, the Rochester Americans 9-1 in their last 10 contests with a 6-game win streak dating back to December 20th. They've been a thorn in the Monsters' side so far this season. Monsters 1-3-0-1 versus the Americans with that lone victory coming on November 27th, a 5-4 road victory which occurred during that iconic 10-game win streak for the Monsters. They currently sit in first place in the North and first place in the Eastern Conference with a very impressive record of 21-9-3 on the season, good for 45 points, leading the Monsters by just 1 point in that North Division. Their current win streak started back with a 3-1 victory over the Syracuse Crunch on December 20th. Within that win streak, they've beaten Cleveland, Utica twice, Springfield, and Bridgeport, and outscoring their opposition 26-13 throughout that stretch. Their next game coming up Friday, January 10th, where they'll host the Utica Comets. Their player to watch, Zachary Metza, the defenseman, 5-game point streak, 1 goal and 7 assists for him, along with 3 assists for his biggest game against Springfield in their victory back on January 3rd. He is 3rd amongst D-men in the American Hockey League, with Derek Pouliot of Syracuse at 24 points. He is trailing that top spot occupied by Trevor Kark of Charlotte at 27. On to the Central Division, the Chicago Wolves in their last 10 games, currently 8-2, lost their last contest 5-3 to Rockford on January 5th, but still occupying that 3rd place spot in the Central Division and 8th in the Western Conference at 17-11-2 for 36 points. They had a huge season turnaround. Throughout the month of October, they went 1-5, but since then, they have been able to bounce back and get back up to a .600 winning percentage and get up into the green in their goal differential, as they are now 87 goals for and 84 goals against after being in the red for quite some time. They have 4 upcoming meetings with the Monsters, as the Monsters will host the Wolves coming up here on January 22nd and 23rd. Then the Monsters hit the road on February 15th and 16th. Their player to watch, goaltender Spencer Martin. He's won 7 of his last 8 starts. In his last 5 games, a .919 save percentage and a 1.16 goals against average. Currently 2nd in the American Hockey League for goals against average, as he sits at a total of 1.91, trailing Brandon Halverson of the Syracuse Crunch at an impressive 177. .923 save percentage on the year there for Martin, good for 8th in the league. Finishing things off with the Pacific Division, the Ontario Reign in their last 10, 8-1-0-1. They lost their last contest 4-3 to Coachella Valley on January 4th, currently sit in 3rd place in that Pacific Division and 4th in the Western Conference at 19-9-0-1. Ontario's 8-7 heading into Thanksgiving, but was able to bounce back 11-2-0-1 ever since, and also going 3-1 in shootouts in the month of December, where they saw quite a bit of extra hockey there. Their player to watch, Charles Udon, currently on a 6-game point streak, 5 goals and 6 assists, good for 11 points throughout that stretch dating back to December 8th. And nearly half of his season points have come in the last 6 contests, as he has a grand total of 11 goals and 13 assists on the season. Also leads the Reign in game-winning goals with 4, his most recent one coming on December 18th in a 2-1 victory over Calgary. Well, that'll wrap it up for our first segment of Who's Hot Around the American Hockey League. I'm Nick Blazer. Thank you for joining me. We're going to toss it back to Tony with more Monsters OT.
Great stuff, Nick. A new segment, newly minted here on Monsters OT. Great job by Nick Blazer. With that, we'll take a break. When we come back, it's our Monsters Alumni segment presented by True North Convenience Stores. I'm Tony Brown, and you're watching Monsters OT on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Welcome back, everyone, to Monsters OT here on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Not much time left in the show. Time now for our Monsters Alumni segment presented by True North Convenience Stores. Fast, friendly, clean. With Brad Thiessen, Tony Brown back with you here, and we are talking about Dylan Simpson today, a Monsters captain for a couple of seasons. He played just about half of his near 500-game AHL career with the Monsters. Of course, he had seasons prior to that with Oklahoma City and Bakersfield, but a real leader, Brad, and a guy on the back end that the Monsters could count on. And if you remember, he even played a little forward in his time with Cleveland.
I was going to say, he was the ultimate teammate. He was willing to do whatever for the team, including playing forward, but obviously a former teammate of mine, a lot of great memories on the ice in front of me, blocking shots and doing whatever it took to win, and off the ice on bus rides, playing card games and things like that. So great to have memory of him here.
Yeah, and he was a great college player, of course, at the University of North Dakota, and that's where he is right now as an assistant coach with UND, a storied program. So all the best to Dylan Simpson. Thanks for everything. Simmer was a great force here in Cleveland for many years. That's it for our Monsters alumni segment, courtesy of True North Convenience Stores. Hey, that's it for another episode of Monsters OT. Lots of thank yous to hand out. First to you, Brad Thiessen, but also to Mike Monty, to Nick Blazer. Great job, Nick. First time on the show. Also want to say thanks to our outstanding crew led by Leo Simone and Jeremy Hawks. And of course, thanks to True North Convenience Stores. I'm Tony Brown. We'll see you next time. It's Monsters OT only on Rock Entertainment Sports Network.